Hi everyone, I am back to do I called this a backing board yesterday. It's not really a board, it's just a piece. I don't really know what to call it. But anyway, it is the type of backing I like to do around these mini paintings like we did in the video yesterday. So, I happen to not have any more of these gesso boards. These are gesso boards flipped upside down, painted with chalk paint in the color I wanted, and then these are mounted in there so they have like a shadow box effect. That's my favorite way to do these. Unfortunately, I don't have the right size boards here. So I have to work with what I got. And what I have is, I have these chunky canvases. They can be mounted on a canvas as well. So I've cut my piece of paper here to fit. Let me move this out of the way. There we go. This is a heavy, heavy, heavy duty piece of watercolor paper. This is by Indigo Arts, and I believe it's 640 GSM. It comes in a real big sheet. When I moved my studio last year up here where I am now, I got less space, so I had to reorganize everything. And I found these 3 sheets of this that I had bought and never used. And they're like $10 a sheet, or they were then. I don't know if they still are, but they're very fine paper, and it's like one of those precious things that you're afraid to use because you're afraid you're going to mess it up. Well, since my goal with doing my art bits projects is to use up what I have here, I decided to cut one of these up, and that's what I used on all these other pieces I've already done. I've used the board, the watercolor board. I call it a board because it feels like a board underneath the paintings. But first, I put some of this cheesecloth, which I also found a package of in my move, and I had never used it either. So I decided to experiment with it, and I really liked the way they turn out. So I'm going to show you the process of how to do these and how to mount the mini paintings on these, and then mount it on canvas though this time. So it's going to be a little different. First thing I want to do is get my little mini paintings out of the way, because I don't want to mess these up. These, as I mentioned in the video yesterday, I haven't decided what to do on these where there's this big block of color. I may do some marks. So I haven't decided on those. Let me just move those out of the way. And I have a little bit of water here, a brush, and some of that same white gray mix I used yesterday. I'm going to use that on the board. And I have, yesterday I used matte gel to attach the collage pieces. With this, I'm going to use this super heavy gel. Just because this is a fabric piece, I want it to kind of bunch up, have a little bit of texture in there when I'm done. So it's really relatively simple. And I probably should have a towel or something under this in case. Love my messy towel there. Just in case. Just in case I get some. I don't want to get this stuff on my board. So this super heavy matte gel goes on white, but it will dry clear. I'm going all the way to the edges with a fairly generous amount on there. Because I want that uneven texture in there. And get off this little edge. Now, my canvas is a 6x6, the little chunky canvas. And this board, I'm going to try to get as much of that matte gel on there as I can. There we go. This board is a 5x5 inches. And the cheesecloth I just cut to be a little bit bigger because I want it to go off the edges, and I'm just going to manipulate it while it's wet and kind of bunch it up some. Get my fingers in this mess. I do want it to hang off the edges a little bit. To give it that fabric frayed edge look. I'm just pressing it down all on there. And then I'm going to get this brush scrubbed out. Hopefully get my fingers washed a little bit too so I can get that stuff off of me. Okay, so that's all that I need. Now, I'm going to go over it with this paint, if I can get open. There we go. This one's an older jar, so it's kind of gunked up a little bit. I probably should clean it off some. So this is that white gray mix that I used on the little mini paintings. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to just take a generous amount and go right over this cheesecloth. I'm going to try to get all the way to the edges. I'll probably have to pick it up to do that. And this is going on here really thick. And before the next step, it has to dry. I don't know if I can bunch that piece up in there. Get off of this top edge right here, kind of texture that up a little bit. And I'm trying to touch all the cheesecloth with it, just a little bit. And I want some of it, like I said, sticking off the edges. Turn it around a little. This edge right here. There's some. Now, wash that brush again. All right, before I close that up, I'm going to grab my palette knife and even add a little bit more on here with the palette knife, just to give it some more cool textures. Not really worried about the middle because the painting's going to go in the middle, but these edges could use some cool textural marks there. Even just press down on it. I'm trying to get all the way to these corners with it because you can kind of see the white paper. There we go. That's pretty good. And maybe put a few little taps of the palette knife in there. Like I said, the mini painting is going to be attached in the middle, so that doesn't need to be very texturized because I need room to attach that. So, before the next step, which will be tinting with the Inktense blocks, this has to dry completely. And what will happen, oh, this jar and I are going to have a fight. What will happen is, try not to handle this where I get it all dirty. When I tint it with the Inktense blocks, that Inktense will run right in through those threads and even on any visible paper areas, and it will tone it right for the little mini paintings to go on there, because right now it looks kind of bland. See, when you tint it, it gives it that aged, older look, which I'm after. And I'm probably going to tint with this color that I used yesterday in the Inktense, because the darker it is, the better it will look. But like I said, this has to totally dry, so I am going to put the fan on this and let this dry, and when it gets all the way dry, we'll come back and tint it with the Inktense. Well, I think we are almost dry. So, let's see what we can do with the Inktense. Now remember, I said we were going to use the color we used yesterday. And of course, I don't remember which color that was, but I think it might be this one here. But I also wonder about adding a little bit of the orange color in there that we used yesterday as well. We'll see. We'll try a tiny little bit. I think that would go well. I don't know which one I'm going to mount on here. Maybe this one. I don't know. Let's see. Well, I don't have to decide that quite yet. But we're pretty dry. We may not be completely dry right there, but close enough to go ahead and tint this a little bit. I'm going to set this here. Let's put some orange on there first. And I'm using a smaller brush this time. I'm going to just try to get some into my little mini palette. Get a little more water in there. Let's just put some on there. Oh yeah, that may work. I may need to go with the bigger brush. I just didn't want to get too much water on here. I do need an extra paper towel though, in case we need to do some more of that paper towel therapy. Might want to go with the bigger brush. Just get some of the excess water out of it. Well, maybe not. Maybe just go directly on here. There we go. That's a little better. Maybe it just does need more water. But this brush covers more ground faster. And if I need to wipe some of it back, it's better than that little one. I'm just going over the whole thing. I hope you can see this. I was going to wait and do this video till another day, but I got kind of excited because I just realized after all these years and all the videos, this will be video 100 on my channel. I was kind of excited about that. That orange is really pretty on here. Really tints it up nicely. Let's see. Of course, it's a little too much orange. So we're going to go in now with some of the darker color, this brown. And kind of do a little mix of the two. And we'll probably have to do a little paper towel therapy to bring some of the original gray color, grayish white color back. I just love the way that Inktense goes in between those threads. Gives it that dimensional look that I like so much. We've got a little bit of both in there at the moment. Let's see what that's going to look like. That's too dark. So let's bring out the paper towel. Tap some of that back off. Let's try that. Ooh, that's almost there. Maybe tap a little bit more off where it's kind of a little bit too dark. But it just tints it just enough. To age it. Now, what do we think about that? Do we need to lighten it some more? Just a little bit. There. I think that might do it right there. It gives it kind of a rustic, natural look. Where's the canvas? Let's just see what that's going to look like. Oh, yeah. I think that will be really cool right there. I wanted that aged, rustic look with a little bit of tint. I really love this. I love the threads hanging off. Let me see if I can pull some of those threads out a little more. Oh, I like that right there. And these. And of course it has to dry. I can dry those off before I put those back. So let's give it a quick little dry. Just to get the excess, I'm sorry. Just to get that excess water out of there. It's still not completely dry where I feel comfortable mounting it on the canvas for real yet. But look at that. And I'm still not sure which one I want to put on there. That one looks pretty good right there. So what I will do in order to finish this out, move that out of the way so you can really see. First thing I'm going to do is stand up and look at it. Oh, yes. I really like that. You see that nice shimmer of gold? That one actually looks really good on there. I might just use that one since it just flows well. Let's just see. Let's try some of the others because I might want to. Ooh, now that one looks really good. I may want to mount. There's the bird. Now he's super cute. They all look good on that. So what I would want to do is if I want to mount others in the same way as the one I'm doing here today, I will make multiples of these with that same paint and the same tinting. And I might need, hang on, I'm thinking I might need a little more dark just at the edge. Leave it to me to change my mind. But hey, it's my 100th video. So I'm kind of excited. I get a little bit of the dark. And I'm using the small brush now because I don't want to overdo it. Maybe just some at the corners. And there's a little bit of white paper showing there. I need to kind of there. It makes, when you do this around the edges, it makes those little really textured spots stand out really nicely. Kind of almost gives it a, what's the word I'm looking for? A stone look. Even though it's fabric. Might have a little too much dark there. That's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's supposed to look aged. And if it really aged, it wouldn't be perfect because things don't age the same way everywhere. And then anywhere where it's too strong, just brush that out with some water. And let's see, let's get right here where this bottom piece is a little bit. Just little bits. Okay, that's a little better. Now let's look. Yeah, I do like that better. It looks a little bit more aged, especially when you go to put it on that canvas. See how it just pops now. And if you go with like this one, with a lot of the dark, in fact, that one works really good with it. Might go with that one, with a lot of the dark in the little mini painting itself. And this canvas, which I just got ink on, so let me get that off. This canvas has already had some gesso applied. I could paint it a different color, but I like the clean look from the white, so I'm going to leave it white. But I really, really, really like that right there. So that is how I make what I call the backing board. It's not really a board. It's just the mounting, the backing for the mini paintings. And depending on how many of those size canvases I have, I will make several of these backings up so I could display them as a series. But I wanted to mention one other thing. You could, if you have a frame, that depending on your frame sizes, you could mount several of them that may look interesting together, like in one frame as well. They don't have to be mounted separately. They don't have to be mounted at all. I'm just giving you some ideas on what you can do. And I know that I said I would show you how to do this, so happy 100th video. That's how I make the backings for these. And what I will do is I will attach this to this when it's really totally dry with this Aleene's tacky glue. And I will put a piece of wax paper over it and some heavy books on it to make sure that this is flat and centered. Then, after that is dry, I will then take the entire thing and I use double stick tape. Let me show you as soon as I find it. Like this. The mounting tape, it's kind of thick. So I will put some of this tape around the edges on the back and a square in the middle. And I will then press that down to attach it to the canvas. And the reason I do that is because, like here, it gives it that shadow-like effect, like it's raised up, because that tape is just thick enough. And it's not going anywhere. This is, once it's attached, it's not going to move. But I like that shadow effect from the raised piece. But I will glue the centerpiece on flat. I will do that with glue and then do the double stick tape on the back of the mounting. So that has to totally dry now before I can mount it. But that is how I make the backing boards. And I'm trying to decide if I need a little bit of color right there or not. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to call my 100th video complete. Thank you guys for hanging with me, and I hope you enjoy making some of these yourself. Have a great day.